Success. Media. Network. 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 Network.
This is your show.
Good day, Successors. I'm Antonio Holman, and welcome to the 4 Principles of Success number 51, where I chat with successful people and entrepreneurs about how they enhance their businesses and lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. And if you want to learn how I've stayed motivated throughout the years, check out my new book, Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success, now on Amazon. Today, we're talking to Dawn Petalino. Dawn is located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and within 6 months after leaving a 13-year teaching career, had a full-time tutoring business without a website and with only one published advertisement. For 8 years, her business thrived even while others experienced a recession. In 2011, she began her coaching and healing business, and again, within another 6 months, she was teaching classes, coaching several women, had a professional website done for free, and twice appeared on a local cable show without forcing any of these things to happen. Today, she coaches women's groups and individuals and is the best-selling author of Peace, Power, and Miracles: How to Use the Awareness 3 Method for Eliminating Overwhelm and Increasing Happiness. She also speaks to entrepreneurial groups about co-creating with the universe a fulfilling life of which they are worthy. Dawn, are you ready to help our listeners prepare for success?
I am absolutely ready, Antonio.
All right, Dawn. So, aside from your busy business world, tell us a little bit more about your personal life.
Well, as you said, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina now, but originally I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so big Steeler fan there. And coming to Charlotte was not really in my plan, but then so many of the things you mentioned were never really in my plan. And just through circumstances, through crisis actually, which is oftentimes how the universe will get our attention, I ended up moving down to Charlotte. Prior to that, in my past life, I was a 3rd grade elementary teacher. And once in Charlotte, though, there were a lot of big changes. My marriage had actually gone downhill, which brought me down here. My husband at the time had gotten relocated. And so I came down to Charlotte kicking and screaming, but I took a teaching position there. And then after a year in Charlotte, well, it was actually in the South Carolina area. After that year, I only knew 2 things. I knew I had to leave the public schools teaching system, and I knew I had to leave the marriage. And it was for the first time in my life, I did not have a plan, because my life was really up to that point about planning. It was about always making sure the next moment was okay, but I was never really living in this moment. And because of that, I lived with a lot of anxiety. I lived with a lot of overwhelm, a lot of stress. And it was always about control was really the bottom line. And so when I left everything, it was the first time in my life that I did not have a plan and that I just relinquished control. And at the time, I was studying a book called A Course in Miracles. And I surrendered essentially to life and said, okay, life, my plan's not working. So let's see what plan you have for me. And it wasn't because I was so brave that I did these things. It was I was putting into practice the things I'd been reading about, but I was also in so much pain at the time that I really had this level of I don't care. I didn't have an attachment to it. And whenever I left everything, I took about a year off just to get deeper into prayer and meditation and just to give myself some time to heal from these things that had happened. And it was during that time that miracles just really popped up in my life, like the resources came when I needed them. The people stepped into my life when I needed it. And through that prayer and meditation time, I started to connect with a higher intelligence, my inner voice, what I would call my higher self, and it began to direct my life. And that's where those ideas to open up a tutoring business, which I had no idea how to do, and to open up, be a transformational coach for women going through transitions and a healer, and I didn't know how to do any of those. And it's really about, for me these days, it's really about listening. And that's what this book is about. It's about learning to listen again, back to the source inside that created us, And instead of planning our lives, listening for life's plan for us, which always carries greater momentum, greater power than we could ever manifest on our own. And now I can look back and say, wow, wow, this is my life. This is pretty cool. So that's where I'm at today in my lovely little condo in Charlotte, North Carolina, having wonderful conversations like this with you, Antonio.
Yeah, I've experienced the same type of thing, to where you actually learn to just take a moment and go within yourself and realize the things that you want, ignoring all the other noise around you. And then you start to find all the good things that are coming.
Yes, that is so true. I think that's the most difficult part for so many. That's really what the book is about, is the awareness, because there is a lot of noise. There is a lot of things that the world will tell us, and we take that on as reality. We take that on. Even growing up, we learned certain beliefs from our parents and the people around us, and everyone was just doing the best they can do, but we take them on, and then, as you know, we actually limit ourselves. But part of the practice is kind of an undoing. It's undoing those beliefs. It's unlearning everything we've learned up to this point. And, that deals with the awareness of the thought. Now, for myself, I had only gotten so far with the awareness of the thought, because then the next chapter was called the awareness of emotion. What I learned was I can only listen to that voice, and I can only follow that voice and receive what the universe would have for me to the extent my heart is open. And if there's any place in me that is still shut down, closed off, afraid of love, afraid of receiving love in any way, then I'm actually limiting what the universe can give me. And so the awareness of the emotion is a way of actually having, of dealing with these emotions, because emotions are just energy in motion. And so this is a way of actually, I think of the liquid Drano commercial where you got that clog in the drain, and that water can't get through. We're the faucet, but we're not the water. But if we've got that clog in there, that power is going to only come out as a trickle. And so the energy, or the awareness of the emotion, is a way about clearing up the emotions, the past stuck energy in our body of those past pains. And so much of it, it's really not our job to heal it, but it's our job to be available. Just like in the awareness of the thought, our natural state of being is love. We're created from this universe that is naturally abundant. It's naturally harmonious. I mean, if you just look at nature by itself, if we were to leave it alone, it would do pretty well on its own. So we come from that. And so whenever we can actually get back to find our center again, and just through these awarenesses, just return to that peace, we will naturally rise to these higher vibrations. It is not our job to do the healing, but it is our job to be available to that power, to that energy. And that's really what I've learned is, not just our thinking, but our emotions as well, because that's really where our intuition is going to speak to us, is through that kind of gut feeling. I don't know, has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty dead on. And I really love the Drano analogy, because when you open yourself up, you allow the energy to flow through.
Yes.
I love that.
That is so true. It's so true.
Yeah. You have a program called Reconnective Healing. Explain to our listeners what that is and how it utilizes the universe to guide us to personal healing and success.
Well, it's very interesting, because when I got the message that I was a healer, I really, didn't understand what to do with that, So I was just asking the universe, okay, if this is what you would have me do, show me how to do this. And I just began exploring different healing modalities. And at the time, there was this modality called Reconnective Healing, and it was made known by a man named Eric Pearl. Now, he didn't invent it. He just helped get it out there. He was very much not anyone who was into any kind of spirituality. He was a chiropractor. He was very scientific. That was his very logical. And so whenever he had this healing done on him, really at the persuasion of a friend, and he ended up going back to his chiropractic practice, and he would have these miraculous healings to these happen to these people on his table. He really was like, what is going on? And so he began looking for answers, and he began exploring a lot of different spirituality, but he really went into the scientific realm of how can we actually see this and prove this? And so at the time when I was learning this, or just realizing I needed to become a healer, there was a Charlotte program that came into town, and if you wanted to learn this Reconnective Healing, and I really wasn't going to go, and then a friend of mine said, "Well, you're going, aren't you?" And I kind of was like, "Oh, okay." So we ended up going, but once I was there, I realized, oh my goodness, I just had that knowing, like, oh, this is what I do. So this type of healing is a little bit different than things like Reiki or some other energy healing, because this type of healing is, we've actually evolved as a planet to the point where we have access to these higher frequencies that are really here to help us evolve further, to really step back into that like elevated form that we're meant to be, our higher selves. And so these energies in this particular type of healing, it's like these frequencies infuse in your body, and they begin helping you from within. And so these frequencies begin opening up your own energy centers. We're all made of energy. The quantum physics proves that now. And these healing energies go in, and just through the client's interaction with me, and my carrying these frequencies, it entrains their body, and these frequencies continue to work on their bodies after they left the table. Whereas most healings happen on the table, these frequencies are there, these love frequencies, these healing frequencies, they're there to open up any place within that is still closed down. So it's almost like getting support from within that you don't even have to try for. I notice so with my coaching clients, one of the things I do with the package that I offer is I always do reconnective healing first, because any kind of awareness they have, any kind of growth they have, if we can just get the frequencies in them, it's going to unfold a lot faster for them. It's going to elevate them more quickly into the different areas of their life that they would need to be in to be the greatest service to this world and this planet, and utilizing their own gifts and talents. It's so interesting to me how many of my clients don't realize it's through working together that they discover their gifts and talents. Whereas even when they're first starting, they're not even really sure of them. But it's through this healing in combination with the coaching that they move a lot faster. I kind of shake my head and think, wow, it took me years, and they're getting these insights, like so much sooner than I am. It's very humbling.
Yeah. They're the lucky ones. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What inspired you to write your book, Peace, Power, and Miracles, and who's your target audience?
Well, I'll tell you what, my target audience is really, it can be men and women, though I will say the majority of my clients tend to be women, and they're between like 30 and mid-60s, tend to be the people that are just at that point in their life where they are in transition, where, they've followed the rules of the world, and now it's about unlearning. It's about getting back to, wait, what's important to me versus what I feel like I should be doing that the world tells me I need to be doing. And so they're really searching for getting back in contact with something deeper within them where they can be more of themselves out in the world. And that's really the people that I work with. They're going through, usually, sometimes it takes place something in their health or their career or their relationships, a crisis in that way, because transitions often start that way. But the real deal about transition is they aren't really endings, they're a beginning. They're recovering the places within ourselves that we feel more fully alive. And so with this book, it was very interesting because at the time I had actually started a different book, and then I was contacted by someone through LinkedIn. It was a man that was he wanted to have a telesummit for different teachers of transformation. Now, what was curious to me is, right, like a week before this, I was getting these messages and seeing people, speakers about LinkedIn and improving your LinkedIn profile. And I will be honest, that really wasn't my domain. I was doing more Facebook things as far as social media and more local things. But all of a sudden, I became really interested in LinkedIn, and I just went on. I thought I better improve my profile, and I went out and updated everything. And then the very next day I did that, I was contacted by this person, and he wanted to do this. He was also a marketer, but I personally had trouble with technology. I was not savvy in that place. And he said, look, if you decide to do this, we're going to help you with the technology, and we're going to help you write the book, and we're going to get it done in this much time. And which was all the areas that I was stuck in because I didn't have that knowledge of how to do, the technical stuff. And I sat and I checked in with myself, and I thought, well, this is going to be a chunk of money. Do I invest this or do I not? And one of the things I do, and I talk about this in the book, is I try on ideas. So I sat and I tried on the idea of, I'm going to invest this money. And when I did that, I felt very neutral about it. And I really wanted something really strong before I invested this money. And so I try on the other idea. I try on the idea of, I'm not going to do this. Now, when I tried on that idea, I got the sense that I had just missed a train going by. Like I just missed something. And so that feeling was strong enough that I thought, okay, I'm doing this. Because the thing about when we listen to our own spirit, our own inner voice, it always knows a way that is least resistant and the least effort for us. And so I went this route, and then this very curious thing happened. I became so inspired with ideas. It was like once I made the commitment, and Course in Miracles talks about this. It says resources follow commitment. Once something inside of us makes that commitment, it's like the whole universe conspires to give you the resources to fulfill it. And I didn't have to do it on my own. I would wake up every morning in this really inspired state. And I was loving my life. I would get up, I would write, these ideas would come to me. And then in the evening, I would just go out with friends. And it was such a bizarre time, but such a fun time. Now, I will say I had to go back and re-edit it because I'm writing in this very inspired state, and so a lot of the ideas are on point, but I had to go back and kind of ground it a little, make it doable for, the average person to reach. I mean, something that I could even reach, so I went back and re-edited it. But so the inspiration for it just kind of came to me, but it was a combination of all of my experiences. It was just quantified into these three awarenesses. And from that, I was able to kind of, divide it up and say, oh, okay, this is kind of what we need to do to get back in contact with our inner voice. This is what's worked for me. This is what's worked for my clients. I'm not saying it's the only way, but I'm saying it is one way, and it's had success with people. So that was a very interesting time, but I'm very grateful for it.
Now, you coach lots of women on healing. How does your coaching help women heal from failed marriages and relationships? And what things can occur in these types of relationships to keep them going strong?
Oh, interesting. Well, one thing about any kind of failed relationship, anything that we consider a failure, it's so often it's our judgment of it. The universe really has no judgment. Our higher self doesn't look at something as good or bad. It looks at something and says, you are really in alignment with your truth and who you are and who I created you to be, or you are out of alignment with it. And the universe is always on our side. It is a beneficent universe. And so whenever we veer off, for example, in my own marriage, I was ready to stay in a marriage and in a job that would keep me quote unquote safe, but it wasn't utilizing my gifts and abilities to the point that they could be. In addition, I wasn't really being my true self in those places. It just was comfortable. And so the universe is life will give you so many chances to change course yourself before it'll step in and change it for you. And so whenever these women, when they see, you can look back and they can see where were they not being true to themselves? What was the lesson for them there? How can they heal this relationship now? Because it can always be healed. Life always has a U-turn at some point. And so even if we don't ever see the person again, a healing can take place. And so with these women, a lot of times the thing that heals is compassion. This is where I love Buddhism and Taoism, is the idea that we're all just doing the best we can at any moment, and we don't always get it right. And that's okay, because there is no judgment in the universe. We're the ones who are judging. But if we can suspend our opinions about it, and we can suspend blame to ourselves or another person, it just becomes two people making choices and trying to do the best they can. And then you sit there and you kind of look at it and say, okay, well, wait, where was I not being true to myself in this place? And how can I do that now? What did I do in that situation that part of me probably knew I was doing it out of fear? Where did I act out of fear, out of grabbiness, out of desperation? Where was I trying to get something or manipulate something? Because the universe will never support something that acts in fear, because it's not the truth. The truth is we are beings of love. We are meant to be joyous. We are meant to be abundant. We are meant to be free. We are innocent. But when we forget that, we act in ways of fear. When we don't know we're safe, when we don't know we're supplied for, when we don't know that we're already lovable, we get grabby. And so we kind of look at those places of where did I shut down and act in fear? And so in the coaching sessions, it's really about learning to have some compassion and understanding for our history and ourselves, and then to begin to make those changes that can feel scary at first, but they feel right because we are then acting on our own truth. And the universe will always support that. So that's really kind of the angle, I guess, if you put it, the angle I take is really helping them to become more and more aware. I can't tell them what's in their heart. I can only help them become aware of it. And that's what the coaching does. And through that, they begin to make their own decisions. They begin to make their own changes because they have the courage now, and they have the compassion now, and they have the clarity to do it. And that's really kind of the process.
See, that's really touching on something personal to my life with someone that is really close to me. And you really touched on a lot of aspects of the situation, and you've actually said a lot of things that I've already spoken. And it just seems like there's a great amount of fear of having no safety, which if you actually aim for happiness, you will feel unsafe, but eventually the universe will place you in the correct path.
Yes.
Because you're operating of truth.
That is so true. And that's, it's interesting because if we knew we were perfectly safe, how would our behavior change? I probably would go into my day with rather than waiting for the shoe to drop, I'd probably go into my day with thank you for what's coming. I would go into my day knowing that I was just meant to be the guest here. It's like if we knew that, and the universe is always trying to show us that, but it feels risky. That's the whole surrender thing is, all right, I'm willing to give up my control enough to just allow a crack of space for the universe to intervene. Can I do that? And I don't even have to do it perfectly. That's what's wonderful. You don't have to do it perfectly. The Course in Miracles says your good intentions are not enough. Your willingness is everything, which means we come as we are. We come, this fearful person sometimes. I come as a person that I go into a situation and I say, you know what, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here. Mm-hmm. I come as myself. It's not my job to figure it out. It's my job to show up and be willing. And I think that if we just knew and accepted ourselves, you know, as a human being, we are very fallible, but we've got a source inside of us that is infallible. And that is what works through us and creates the life that would best utilize us, and which also becomes our deepest desire in our heart anyway. If you think about it, if the universe, you know, it made an acorn, the acorn didn't have to think about what it was going to be. It was programmed. You know, the baby is born. It doesn't have to affirm in the uterus, I'm going to grow an arm now. You know, it's programmed. Mm-hmm. We are programmed. It's in our DNA. And if we knew that we were safe, if we knew that we were loved, and I really think that was certainly my challenge, was knowing and trusting that I was really loved by this power that really wanted to give me more than I would ever give myself. But it can feel scary when we take conditions into our life and we judge the condition. But yet, how many times in our lives have certain conditions come into our life that later on in hindsight, we look back and we say, oh my gosh, thank God that happened, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have done X, Y, or Z. Mm-hmm. And it's always the universe is like trying to bring us more and more and saying, you know, you're playing too small. I've got better plans for you than this. And it's trusting in the goodness, and it's trusting in our own goodness. You know, I think shame is a big thing with certainly Western society, is just not knowing that we're really worthy of things. We doubt it. We doubt our lovability. Everybody does. It's like the two things people go through, everybody goes through, is feeling not enough and not feeling lovable. We all go through that. And it's kind of the unlearning and the relearning of that. Oh, I get it. Wait a minute. I'm innocent just as I am. I make mistakes, but that doesn't mean I'm still not worthy. And so it's a lot of the judgment that gets in the way. And what you said about that safety is like, what if we just knew that we were safe and loved, and that we could just step out of our door, and that the universe would bring to us all the things that would best serve us, and that we didn't even have to try. It was just because we are so loved and precious to the universe. It's a very different attitude to take out into the day. And I know that's why it's a practice. For me, it's certainly a practice.
Yeah. So my takeaway from that is when you operate from truth and love, the universe will provide you safety.
Yeah, it's like, and it'll even, you know, and again, I don't even have to do this perfectly, but I do try to check my intentions, because the times that I've, you know, made the mistakes are the times that I have acted out of fear. Maybe I was afraid of somebody's anger, so I went into people-pleasing mode. Was I being true to myself? No, probably not. I was probably just trying to make sure they were okay, and in the end, feeling resentful about it.
Check out promosharecast.com.
So, you know, that's not going to really, since that's not coming from a place of love, it's not going to be supported. It can't hold. You know, manipulation can't hold. If I'm trying to go out there and get somebody to be a client, I have to get you to be a client, then I'm really coming from a fear of lack, a fear that, well, I have to get you to be a client, because if I don't, then I'm not going to be supported, and you know, and I've got to make this happen, and it's up to me, and I'm coming from that fear of losing something or not getting something. Whereas if I knew I was safe and cared for, and I didn't even have to know how, if I could just trust that much, or just open my mind enough to say, you know, that might be a possibility. What if? What if I were safe and cared for? Now I can go and meet somebody without an agenda. I can go and meet them wanting to truly see, hey, can I help this person? And the thing about that is love begets love. When we come from that place of checking ourselves and just saying, can I come to this place out of love versus fear? And going into a situation that way, just really wanting the best for everybody there, including ourselves. I want to be loved just as much as that person wants to be loved. And if I can put us all on the same level playing field and just go into that situation with compassion and love, that is where, they say, where two or more are gathered. That's the third. The third is the substance, the universe, the love that surrounds that situation. And I don't have to control it. I just have to allow it. And I have to allow it to unfold as it will. And this is where curiosity takes courage. And I talk about this in the book. Just be curious. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so maybe that person didn't become a client, but perhaps I was there for a different reason. If I knew I'm safe, if I know I'm loved, if I know I'm provided for, then I'm not worried about it. I just find it kind of interesting. When I was starting my tutoring business, there was many times I was afraid, and I would get phone calls from women who their name or their child's name was Grace, Faith, or Hope. And it happened so frequently that it kind of became this little inside joke between me and God. Now, these people I never actually tutored. We never met. I considered those just little breadcrumbs. If I had been attached to that, though, and thought, oh, well, they didn't become a client, I would have gotten grabby. But instead, the universe sees everything through the eyes of the heart. And so that was the universe just saying, hey, you're all right. Just keep going. Keep on keeping on. So in those moments, if we can bring love into the situation and suspend our judgment, which is not an easy thing to do, for sure. That's why it's a practice. But if we can just go in with curiosity and wanting to just be of service, that's where miracles happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, life's full of ups and downs. Throughout your journey, what was the time you felt most unsuccessful?
I would say it was probably with the coaching and the healing. The tutoring business, I had some background. That was very concrete. I was a reading specialist, so I could help kids with reading. I understood that. But to go into something that I felt the universe was calling me to do, and I didn't really know how to do it. I remember saying, do I need a certificate for that? And eventually I did. I got different coaching certificates that certain things came into my life. But at the time, you're just really trusting the call, even though you don't feel qualified. And so for me, it was quite a journey. Even though at the time I felt called, I thought, okay, I'm ready. That business moved in fits and starts, and it was hard not to blame myself. And I did blame myself a lot. Like if I just had the right program, if I just had the right message, if I just had, now, once again, in hindsight, I see that things unfolded at a pace that I could handle, but also I had to grow into being that coach and healer. So even though I got the information, I was still in life school. So I still had, and so things didn't start to take off for that until I had healed and grown enough myself to be able to step into that role more fully as that conduit of that power. I mean, there is a divine timing in everything. And so I think the biggest failures are the times that I call it compare and despair. Anytime I just compared myself to another coach as somebody who was doing really well, and then you just sit there and think, oh my gosh, that I go into feeling like a phony, feeling like an imposter, feeling like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And so the times I beat myself up, I could have just, when I could have just sat back, I mean, in hindsight, I could have just sat back and said, okay, well, I guess I'll be taken care of. This is interesting. But I did it to myself. And I think the judgments are, and I think we all do it. I know that that's a lot of what my clients deal with as well, is the judgments we hold against ourselves become our biggest forms of hell.
What was the most challenging client-related situation that you've ever had, and how did you resolve it?
Oh, this is interesting. I think that when I think of this one client, she was recovering from infidelity in her relationship. She didn't feel, she had 2 daughters, and she felt very disconnected from her younger daughter. She wasn't embracing being a mom. She also worked at this computer job that she didn't really like sitting behind a desk all the time. And she suffered from, depression. And that was a lot on the table. And to sit there and to think, wow, how am I going to help this person? I mean, I don't have the answers. My whole focus is they have the answers. I just have to help. I have to provide a space that they can feel accepted and safe enough to access their own inner voice. And so we worked a lot with compassion. She was very hard on herself. So we worked a lot with creating that safe space within ourselves, with withholding judgment, with having compassion, with understanding. Building self-love was key. And so it was, for her, it was a lot of compassion for herself. And then it was also being able to see situations from a higher perspective. Because as I said, when we're in it, we can judge it. But when we elevate ourselves, it's almost like if this were a gift from the universe, specifically for me, what might it be trying to give me? And in our coaching sessions, I often get intuitions or visions, and I will share them with the person of how maybe spirit is seeing this situation. And so I would share them, and in addition to that, it kind of reframed it for them, because they then could see it the way I was seeing it, but they also were building up enough self-love inside themselves and compassion that now they could really be with other people and not feel safe in their own skin. And in addition, they could begin to hear their own inner voice. So this woman ended up discovering a natural love for baking. And she began making these organic breads, which in essence began to bring her whole family together. She embraced motherhood. The relationship, it brought her and her husband closer. It became a second business that she loved to do. It just from following her own guidance, it ended up elevating all those other areas. And she ended up cutting down her depression medication in half. And it was through listening and just learning to accept herself.
What one thing in your business are you currently struggling to overcome?
Patience. I think that, and I hope I'm not alone in this, but, as business owners, we have an idea of where I have an idea of what I would like my business to look like, or this is where I'd like the level to be. And so for me, it's always 2 things I would say: surrender and patience. Because I can say, this is what I'd like it to be. And I can, visualize that and affirm that. However, in my experience, those ideas are my best ideas, but they're limited. The universe has a grander idea for me than I could ever have for myself. And so if I trust in that, and I trust in the timing and the pace of things, because I think my impatience says, yeah, but it's not here now. And so I just have to let go. I have to keep surrendering and say, all right, I'm willing. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say and to whom? And, The Course of Love is another book that I follow with the Course in Miracles, and it says form supports spirit and spirit supports form. It's a symbiotic relationship. So as I support wherever the spirit wants me to go, my form is supported. It is supported. I don't even have to worry about that. And so the patience and the surrender are probably the two obstacles. I don't even know if I call them obstacles so much, but the things that I constantly have to do over and over again. I have to surrender and say, all right, I have my idea, and I have to let it go and say, it's not that I wouldn't have it. It's just willing to let go and say, okay, what would you have for me? And seeing where that goes. And then that's the surrender. And then the patience of, all right, let's just, I'll be patient until things come and just trust they're coming at the divine time. And not to compare. Course of Love says 2 things you must do: resign as your own teacher and stop comparing. And those are probably my biggest challenges right there.
Hang tight, successors. We'll return to our conversation with Dawn Petalino, as well as quick success after a word from our sponsors. Podcasters, want more listeners? Check out promosharecast.com and join the community today. That's promosharecast.com. Join today and get the first month free, and you'll also receive 50% off for a lifetime membership. Sign up today. promosharecast.com. Are you a tense, tired, busy person who works day in and day out, who tends to lack the proper sleep and energy? Using modular supplements, health-related articles, recipes, life hacks, and more, Bellison can help. With quality as high as Bellison, you're buying from a company that cares about the environment and only uses premium vegan supplements. That's Bellison.com. Want to learn how to cook healthy, exercise, and meditate in just 30 minutes a day? Bellison.com. Want to feel healthy, energetic, and focused like me? Bellison.com. To receive a 10% discount at checkout. Whoa, hold on. Now receive even more health benefits with a 20% discount at checkout. Go to Bellison.com with the coupon code the4POS to get your 20% off now. Visit Bellison.com. That's BELISAN.com. Compassion and quality without compromise. Bellison.com. And we're back with author and transformational coach, Dawn Petalino. Now we get into the part of the show I like to call Quick Success, where you, Dawn, can inspire the successors to enhance their lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Dawn, what are you currently doing to enhance your knowledge?
At this time, I still study. There's 2 books in particular, The Course in Miracles and The Course of Love, that I study. And these are considered by many people, if you think of like Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer, Miriam Williamson, Deepak Chopra, these are considered sacred texts by many, what I would say, my teachers or gurus in the spiritual metaphysical field. And so I continue practicing because it is a practice. And my biggest thing that I do is I pray and meditate every morning, and I block off at the very least an hour to really get into that space of sacredness where I can listen to a deeper voice within myself. And I have to bring every situation in my life to that space. I tell my clients, take it to the chair, don't take it out there. Mm-hmm. So we just sit in the chair and we bring the situation in and we ask from our higher self, show me how you would see this. How are you seeing this? Because right now I'm seeing it from a place of fear, or I'm seeing it from a place of lack of love, or show me how you would see this. And we have to sit, but we have to show up for the appointment. And so my biggest areas is I've got to walk my talk. If I'm bringing everything back to spirit, back to source, then I have to be that person in the world. And I don't do it perfectly. And so for me, it's always coming back to center. It's always coming back to surrender. It's always coming back to my own studies, my own truths. And more, these truths are now coming to me in my meditations. So even though I love to read these various books, and I do use the two, Course of Miracles and Course of Love, a lot, it's really coming through my own listening. And I think that for many of us is our biggest teacher.
What are you currently doing to enhance your health?
I exercise every morning. I try to, and that helps to ground me. I notice a lot of people who are maybe more energy sensitive. It's in order to kind of be in this world, we need to get, it's like we got to get our lower chakras. We got to get our self-grounded. So I exercise every morning. I lift weights. I pay attention to what I eat. And then I like to have my off days where I like to just go for beer and pizza and whatnot. Also with health is important for me, and this is part that I've often struggled with, is allowing myself just fun time. Like I can do work time really well. I can do concentration time, but just allowing myself like just a nothing time, it's difficult for me because I kind of always like to be doing something stimulating, and sometimes just letting myself just have an evening off is not even an evening. That's gotten easier, but to give myself a whole day off, I can't do that yet.
What are you currently doing to enhance your wealth?
Well, I you know what? We have to be responsible with the money we have. So if the universe is giving me this money, then it is my job to take care of it. So what a thing I do is I look at my money and I live within my budget. I try to sit there and say, okay, this is what I've got. So let me pay attention to where my dollars are going. Let me decide what's really important to me. And so I really, before I spend something, I'll see, is this a real desire of my heart, or is this something that's going to pass in 10 minutes, So I try to be responsible with my money. I also I think it's very true, the honesty factor. If money, I remember reading this once, if money were your romantic partner, what kind of relationship do you have? Do you feel like it's withholding from you? Do you feel like, do you even know it's there? Do you, so to be treated almost like as if it were your romantic partner, how would you be, what kind of relationship is that?
That's a heck of a question.
Isn't it? Isn't it interesting?
Goodness. Yes.
And you sit there and go, am I respecting it? Am I trusting it? Am I, so, and also for me, it's acknowledging that money is just a means given to me by the Holy Spirit, what I say the Holy Spirit, but by my higher self, by the universe, and that it is just a continuation of the abundance in my life, and to recognize it, to just take that moment and to say, thank you, I see it, thank you.
What are you currently doing to enhance your spirituality?
Probably all the above. Definitely the prayer and meditation is the biggest thing. That's the one thing that I want to be able, I hold meditation groups at my home that I, just free meditations, and my website is getting redone, and I'm offering free meditations there as well, and in my newsletters, because I know for me, it has been the game changer. It has been the thing that has gotten me in conscious contact with my higher self, so I'm not just running off on, my own random thoughts.
Are there any modern technologies or apps that you use to help you achieve success?
Oh, yes, my phone is the biggest one. Technologies have often been overwhelming for me, but I've learned to use just my phone for whatever reason, because it's a smartphone, and that it's something I can pull out and just quickly use, like even with the Facebook or YouTube, and I can create a video, I can upload it. It just seems easier to me, less threatening. So I enjoy using that a lot, and just gotten more into, the YouTube and the social media aspects. I think those, and the other one is my email person. She helps me out with the strategies and things like that. She's on my team. Is this app called Word Swag, where you can create your own quotes or write in quotes, and it's just made that easier too for me. When I get an idea and I get a quote in my head that I want to share, I can go right to that. I can put it on the Word Swag, create a quote with a picture, and then post it immediately onto my Facebook page.
What new thing, book, activity, skill, or technology are you really excited to learn and dive into?
Oh, I think, well, I don't know what you call this. The public speaking circuit. I'm doing more public speaking now. And so I guess anything utilizing the public speaking venue would be something that I would like to open up to more. I've got a couple engagements with networking groups and doing, some author series, on stage and so forth. So I think anything there, and I'm sure I'll be learning as I go, like, oh, there's something I'm not sure how to do. So anything that relates to that could get the message out more, make it more accessible to people, is something that I would like to learn more about.
And Successors Dawn has a special offer for you. Dawn, what is that?
Anyone who is interested in learning more, or if you are a woman in transition and there's something that you're feeling uncertain, you're feeling unclear about, confused, afraid, and you would like more clarity, you would like to find more confidence, you would like to have that sense of sureness, that I invite you to contact me at dawn@dawnpetalino.com. And I offer a free consultation just to discuss it, to see if there's a way that I might be able to help. And if it is a match for any of your listeners, I'd like to offer 20% off a coaching session.
All right, Successors, you hear that? 20% off a coaching session with Dawn. Just send her an email at dawn@dawnpetalino.com. Dawn, how can our listeners connect with you?
Well, they can contact me go to my website, which is currently being updated, right now there's the old website, but you can see me there, www.dawnpetalino.com. They can also check out my Facebook page. I have a personal page as well as a fan page, Dawn Petalino, and my business name is New Rays of Light. And my personal page also has a Dawn. It has my maiden name in there as well, De Gregorio Petalino. They could check out those. I have a Peace, Power, and Miracles Facebook group. So if anyone's interested in joining that group and receiving just different daily support and inspiration, there's a Facebook group, Peace, Power, and Miracles. As well as to check out the book. There's a Kindle version as well as a hard copy version on Amazon, Peace, Power, and Miracles.
Finally, Dawn, what's your definition of success?
My definition of success is utilizing our gifts and talents in a way that is inspiring and of service to others. And when we do that, we feel most alive in our life. We also become this great conduit for the power within us to live through us as us. And life actually becomes this wonderful adventure. I say often, I become a fascinated witness to my own life.
Successors, I hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Dawn Petalino. Please check out more successful free content like this at the4pos.com. Go ahead and rate, review, and subscribe as well. Thanks for listening and prepare for success. Thanks, Dawn.
Absolutely. Thank you, Antonio.
If you want to do more, earn more, be more, and stay more motivated, visit Amazon.com right now for a copy of Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. Get it now at Amazon.com. Podcasters, want more listeners? Check out PromoSharecast.com and join the community today. That's PromoSharecast.com. Join today and get the first month free, and you'll also receive 50% off for a lifetime membership. Sign up today. PromoSharecast.com.